Good evening, boils and ghouls. Tonight we'll be taking a trip through gaming's past where...
I'm not gonna be doing that this whole video. Welcome, one and all, to the absolute best time of year. The summer heat is beginning to, and I cannot put this delicately enough, fuck off. The leaves are beginning to change color. The pumpkin spice goblins are coming out of their caves to mine the vast resources of pumpkin spice ore that they can find. But the absolute best thing about this time of year is the outbreak of spookiness that comes bubbling to the surface. Now you can be scared any time of the year. A bump in the night? Scary. A guy following you for 20 miles making the same exact turns you are? Scary. Miss a bill by accident and receive a strongly worded letter telling you that even though you only had one more payment on the washer and dryer that you rented to own because you didn't have the money at the time, you could still have it repossessed? Absolutely horrifying. Spookiness is a different beast entirely. Spookiness is kind of the safe cousin of scary. Like going through a haunted house with your best gal, or guy, we don't judge, or watching a horror movie with friends knowing it's just a movie. I love it. I love it like a 4-year-old loves eating paste.
Ralph, are you eating your paste?
No, Miss Hoover.
Good.
You know who else loves spooky stuff? Game devs. They can't help putting in ghosts or goblins in any game that they make. You got your Mad Monster Mansions, your Pumpkin Hills, Boo Houses, Jacob's Coves, and like a lot of Castlevania. But today I'm going to be talking about some of the games I like to play during the spooky month of October. And if you don't like it, you can upload your own video talking about the things you like to play and then tag me on Twitter and I can watch it and discuss it with you. Okay, cool. Back in 2001, Nintendo released their fourth home console and decided to do something bold. They dropped that wet towel Mario and went with the taller, designated player 2 Luigi for a launch title of their new system. Luigi's Mansion has been one of my favorite GameCube games since its launch 18 years ago, and you know what that means. It's legal. Luigi wins a mansion in a contest he doesn't remember entering and lives happily ever after. You know better than that. It's filled to the brim with ghosts, boos, and toads, which are honestly probably worse than the ghouls haunting the place.
Hey man, I'm the fantastic fungus, the supercharged mushroom of might. I'm the Toad Warrior.
While the game isn't super long and there isn't much the gameplay loop outside of find key, open door, vacuum ghost, repeat, the atmosphere of the mansion is just so haunting. It's almost like it's a character within itself, something that its sequel, Dark Moon, clearly missed the mark on. If I had to complain about any one thing in this game, it would be the boo catching. Boos are a semi-extra collectible that you find hidden in each room. And it sounds easy enough, you find the boo, you suck it up, but the boos can break out of your sucking and drift through walls, making it next to impossible for you to catch on the first try. And sometimes, depending on room to room, this can get super frustrating. This is unedited footage of me trying to catch just one of them. Now this is a worst case scenario, but there are 50 of them in the game and it does get kind of tiring. That being said, however, its weird ghosts, strange electronic music, and choice to make Luigi the beloved coward that he is today will keep me coming back every single year. Probably the newest entry on this list and my introduction to the Soulsborne series is 2014's Bloodborne. Bloodborne is unlike anything I'd ever played before. I tried out Dark Souls and didn't care for it at the time, but something about Bloodborne's fast combat, haunting gothic architecture, and horrifying enemies just drew me in. It's a fantastic horror game, bar a few enemies being on the unfun side. All you know is that you're some mook who wakes up in a blood-starved town. Who are you? Don't matter. How'd you get here? Don't matter. Your main focus is seeking out pale blood, whatever that is. Bloodborne has some of the best atmosphere, creative enemy designs, and outright most horrifying situations I've ever been put against in a video game. Bloodborne stacks you up against unbeatable odds, forcing you to adapt and overcome these monstrosities one after the other. Bosses that once seemed impossible, but after the first few tries you learn their moves, anticipate their strikes, and then dodge through, defeating them. Bloodborne for a long time was the only reason to own a PS4, and while there's a good bit of exclusives for it now, it still holds its own as a titan of fear on the console. Buy it, play it, I cannot recommend it enough. The DLC good too. Do you need something with spooky themes, monsters, zombies, rednecks, whatever the fuck this thing is? Then my recommendation would be a heavy dose of Resident Evil. It'll cure what ails you. Whether you're in need of a European vacation, maybe a scenic Chinese getaway, or perhaps a visit to the big city, a one-night stay in a luxurious mansion with only one previous owner, technically, These destinations have many fun pastimes such as safari rides, skeet shooting, jet ski lessons, culinary delights, petting zoos, Spanish lessons, and more. So if you're in desperate need of a good time, call now. Except that one. Don't play that one. Next up is something a little bit less mainstream. I know how pretentious that sounds, but it's called a source mode? Source mod? Source mod? Source mod? Let me take you back to the distant past, the year 2010. A younger but still fat me was browsing the internet as one does, and I come across a source mod called Nightmare House 2, and me being broke at the time jumped at the opportunity for a free game. Nightmare House is kind of a bait and switch title because the first level is a remake of the original mod by the same name, which in fact takes place in a nightmare house. But once you get to the main game, it takes place in an asylum. The voice acting is a bit amateurish, but I think it kind of adds to the charm of it.
I see you found my axe. God knows how it found its way out here, but you should consider it a blessing.
Throughout the game, some scares take place that were clearly inspired by other games, Fear and Condemned to name a few. But there's some really clever uses of the source engine in RNG. For example, sometimes the background track will drown out and fade and all your heroes soft whispering. Or you'll randomly take 1 health damage for a small jump scare. It's really neat, and the end of the game isn't great once all the SWAT team shows up and the plot kind of explains itself. But for a small team, it's still really impressive what they were able to pull out. And you can still download it today, the link's in the description. Go check it out, it's really fun. Finally, my favorite thing to play around Halloween is a very, very popular hero shooter. The game itself has loads of character and charm, with each of its characters being a fountain of charisma and fun. Give up? That's right, it's everyone's favorite game.
Hey, cheers, love! Cavalry's here!
I've played, and I can't put this delicately enough, a fucking lot of TF2 over the years. And every year since 2009, they've been hosting a wonderfully dreadful Scream Fortress event. Some events are better than others, I won't lie, but even the not-so-great ones have their charm, unless it's the dumb garbage bumper car minigame they had one year. Oh, I fucking hate this. Nope. Throughout the years, Valve has kind of abandoned TF2. It still gets occasional bug fixes, but nothing of substance. And even then, it's still going pretty strong and thriving. The Halloween event is what will always keep me coming back. Whether the mercs are fighting the wizard Marasmus, a down-on-his-luck spellcaster who, among other things, once cursed the Demo Man's missing eye, is indebted to several global mafias, who was also once the soldier's roommate till Soldier more or less stole his castle and turned it into a sanctuary for raccoons. Did I mention TF2's lore is a whole lot of fun? Because I cannot stress how much fun it is. Or the team squaring off against the horseless headless horseman. Get it? Horseless? He riding through the desert on nothing. The events are always full of terrifying fun year after year. Valve passed the torch in 2014, taking fan-made maps and content since, you know, Valve is so busy and all with all the new games they're making. Some of these fan-made maps are fantastic. Big shout out to Cursed Cove, a beachside town where you deathmatch with the enemy team collecting their souls and depositing them in Davy Jones' locker, featuring a fully voiced and fully modeled Davy Jones. And other maps are not as fun. Look, I'm not trying to name names, but whoever made Hellstone, the map is great, but there's just too much going on. It kind of breaks my heart that TF2's in the state it's in. Valve seemingly lost all interest in real updates, and the only thing we occasionally get are bug fixes and new hats. It's unfortunate, but all things must go the way of the dinosaur. It had a good run, and as long as there are 2 snipers complaining about body shots on 2 Fort, TF2 will never truly die.
Good news! We're not dying! We are going to live forever!
I wish, man. I really wish. I'm gonna get off gaming for this last bit. You can click off if you like, but this is a little bit personal. Lastly, and absolutely the most important thing about Halloween for me, were these 2 people. The blurry clown in this picture is my mother, and she always loved dressing up for the holiday. After having my brother and I, she didn't really dress up as much, but she still gave out candy every year. She loved seeing like the little kids' costumes and always had to sit out there the whole night. She wouldn't let them come to the door, she'd wait on them. The Grim Reaper in flannel over here is actually my grandfather. He and my grandmother, since they lived in the sticks and didn't really get a whole lot of trick-or-treaters in the countryside, would always come to our house every year and house sit for my mother while she, my brother, and I went trick-or-treating until my brother and I were old enough to go by ourselves. Then she, my grandfather, and my grandmother would just watch the house and give trick-or-treaters candy. Let me paint you guys a picture. I remember being on my front porch every year on Halloween night, watching the hill of our neighborhood and waiting for their beat-up green Toyota to come rolling down. I can still smell Halloween. Every year we'd have boiled hot dogs, and my grandpa would break out this sauerkraut that he loved, and it stank. But it's just one of those things that's just so embedded in your memories, and it's just always going to be there. And honestly, I'm kind of glad it's there. I'm really thankful that I have these memories. My grandfather passed away in the summer of 2013, and my mother early 2014. So while they're no longer with us, I still treasure every memory I have of them, and Halloween just happened to be some of my favorites. I think the reason I like Halloween the most is during these times of horrible scenarios and nightmarish situations, it's nice to have a time of year that you can watch hysterically off-the-wall bullshit and know that this could never happen or this scenario is impossible. I love this time of year. I crave it. The allure of ghosts, goblins, ghouls, and gargoyles is just too strong for me to pass up. It's like a drug. I guess you could say I've been shooting up on Scarewin for years. Don't look at that. Don't. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna wind up this horror movie. It's a mystery, and we're about to find out the end result of childhood obesity.
It's you, fool! It's adult obesity!
I don't really think I like this movie anymore.
You don't have to like facts for them to be true!
This movie's stupid. I'm turning it off.